Many have described what's happening today as a psychological war. Would you agree with that concept?
I think that's pretty compatible. Spiritual warfare, psychological warfare, all these things are in play in some way or another. I
And so,
agree.
from your training as a psychiatrist, how ought we to defend ourselves against this kind of warfare?
Well, it's hard to really give general advice out there because many people, and not people participating tonight, but the people participating tonight, used to be able to be close with and talk to about things, right? And so we've all experienced that talking to some people about this is impossible.
Hmm.
And so I look at this as some kind of spell, similar to people that are in a cult, that they're so mesmerized, and there are good psychological reasons for this. One of them in the current situation is simply related to fear, right? Because if you do believe this narrative, then other people are dangerous, and you're at risk of succumbing, at any point in time, and that is, you can't think rationally when you're in that survival fear state. But also that all of our lives we have really, if you think about it, we've been programmed. And there's a lot of science behind this. Like even the original patent for the television specifies that there is a certain refresh rate, which is in sync with our own neurorhythms, if you will, to what's called an alpha brainwave state. And this is a real thing that, like, if you get an EEG, an electroencephalogram, right, which is a regular medical test, it can identify these rhythms. And it's basically a different frequency of electrical impulses in the brain. And some states are, like you're in a certain state when you're sleeping, when you're in an awake alert state. And the TV is specifically designed to get you into an alpha state, which is being suggestible, like in a hypnotic trance, that whatever programming comes through the TV, that you will accept it more readily, right? So, and then we have, the compulsory schooling system, where the curriculum is determined not by the parents, right, but by some central authority. But aside from the curriculum, just the mechanism by which we bring children up is that we provide them information, we tell them that it's accurate and that they should take it in and accept it. There's no spirit of inquiry and debate, and reasoning and logic that's really taught. There's no independent research where the students go learn about something, then come and discuss it and find out who's right about this or that. Like that would be, if our schools were designed that way, right now, everybody would be doing what I am doing. Right? So we're taught to trust authority, and especially in times of crisis. And that's what most people are doing right now. And you have to first break them out of that. Like, that thing of, you mean everything that they say on the news is not the truth, right? Or you mean the government may do something that would be harmful for the people? It's really, really hard to see that, even though if you look at history, you see time and time again governments actually murdering large portions of their own people, right? There's even a name for it. It's called democide. And so there's plenty of precedents for this, and we should always be suspicious. Our In the United States, our Constitution is written specifically to protect the people from the government. Right? There's a good reason for that. And so now, that we need to exert that protection, it's so hard for people to see it because they just have trusted all their life and never put it upon themselves to, make their own opinions truly.
Listen, something you mentioned, Ted, couple of weeks ago about those hypnotherapists that you talked to.
Mhm.
So I wanted Dr. Kaufman maybe to kind of give some insight on how could they have pulled that off? Was it strictly with the TV where they got everyone around the whole planet buying toilet paper about the same time? So I just wondered if he might talk a little more on the mind control element. Would that be done through the smartphone, or what? How could that have, been accomplished? Maybe there's things that we can watch out for. That was my question.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, if you want to avoid it yourself, I would just, not look at any mainstream media whatsoever and get all of your information from sources that you investigate and find and feel are reliable. And you'll be subject to way, less of that kind of influence. But there are many, many strategies, and I would encourage people who really want to investigate this to look into Edward Bernays, because he's really came out of the eugenics era and is the father of public relations, which is they basically rebranded the word propaganda into public relations because people thought propaganda was bad. But that has totally changed our entire culture into this consumer culture. All came directly out of his, some of his seminal work. And so there are all different strategies and that are in concert with each other and all reinforcing the same kind of messages. And, television is just one of them. And I only described one small aspect of what they do, with television. And now they've extended this, to computers, video games, to other types of media, to social media. All these social media, right? There have been whistleblowers from Google talking about this, how they, you basically get addicted to likes, and then they use that to manipulate you and guide, the right product advertising to you and things like that, and sell your data. And that's how they make money, by sort of manipulating you in these ways. And with respect to the toilet paper, operation, yeah, clearly that is playing upon the fear that we talked about, that of scarcity, that suddenly, something that is, toilet paper is a symbol of modern convenience, right? I mean, we remember during the communist era in the Soviet Union that was one of the things that was in all the movies, right? That they had to wait online for toilet paper, or they never had it, and life was so hard without toilet paper. It's like almost like a little trauma that goes back. And then that was reignited somehow, because if you just put out pictures across, different platforms of people, buying toilet paper and the shelves being empty, just by that, then everybody who sees that, then they're going to go out and actually do that. It's like you bring it into being. It's like a publicity stunt of some sort. It's like, just like if you, put out the announcement that, you're giving away free cars at the Ford dealer, on Route 73, I guarantee there'd be 50 people showing up there, if you put that message out in the right way. And so it was that kind of a thing. And of course, there was no shortage of toilet paper whatsoever in reality, right? Because it eventually showed up back on the shelves. And I've heard of some people having entire closets full of it.
But that's also conditioning, Dr. Kaufman, because I'm Southern Italian and my wife is South Asian Muslim, and we were laughing. We thought, okay, I can understand. We can understand how panic you'd be hoarding food, but in our house we hardly use toilet paper. Our cultural bent is we wash after going to the bathroom. So we couldn't understand. I said, okay,
That's why the Italians have
food?
zero hemorrhoids.
But but it just goes to show you, as you're saying, the immense power of conditioning and propaganda removing your rational sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, one of the things that I find most curious is how young people are so captured at this time, and there are a high level of compliance. To me, young people aren't watching the news, so to me, there's got to be another vehicle of the capture or the hypnotism, and maybe it's the video games or something else. But I'm surprised, because I would have thought young people would rebel against those kinds of restrictions, and they seem to be completely captured by it.
Ted, I think this is really one of the main reasons for the timing of this current kind of world takeover, because of this younger generation that, you know, since they've come of age, they've been groomed with electronic devices, and they actually have most of their social life is through that. Like I've seen young kids together in a public place, like physically in each other's presence, and everyone being on the phone,
Right.
Right.
right? And it's like they don't even know how to interact otherwise. And if all of your life is through this operating system, then you're very, very programmable, because it's like everything you do. You know, it used to be like, oh, you get the kids on Saturday morning cartoons, the rest of the time they're out playing. You know, like that's what it was like for me when I was a kid. I didn't, you know, I watched like cartoons right after school for a little bit, and then Saturday mornings, and that was, you know, then I was actually playing with other kids and doing, you know, playing in sports leagues or whatever. But now you see that everything, all these interactions are through these devices. So whoever's controlling the media, you know, and I've seen this even with my own kids as I learned over time. And there are these, you know, media creators on small platforms that are made for kids. Like some of them are on YouTube, but on this other platform that I'm blanking on the name right now. But they have all kinds of commercial messages in there. And I remember my daughter was watching something, and then suddenly she couldn't stop talking about this one particular kind of toy, and to an obsessive degree. And she was never the kind to like always ask for things. And you know, and I figured out it was related just to this one YouTube channel, right? So it's hard to see how powerful these things are unless you like witness a little thing like that. But you have to say to yourself, if I see that little aspect there with this one thing that's even produced by like an independent person, you know, then what is going to be the effect when they get a big multinational conglomerate putting programming together? You know, so I think these kids are just so used to um, being told what to do through these channels that they're given only the right messages, and they're just going along with it.
I think I've had this question for a while. You may be the perfect person to answer it. So, if let's say tomorrow, all the media, the news, MSN, NBC, they all say, okay, folks, looks like things are overblown. We're going to be okay. You can take off your mask, go back to work. Let's live life normal. Don't worry about being close to people. Would people believe it, or would they say, no way, I'm keeping this mask on?
Well, I don't know that I'd believe it if they said that. I think I would go back to bed and say I must be dreaming. You know, I think people have shown that basically whatever comes out of, you know, CNN or Fox or NBC or CBC, they're going to believe it. So if they say that, I assume they believe that too.